Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your support to this channel. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to begin this analysis by taking you back to a few years ago. A few years ago, our children took their exams, and when the result came out, it was shambolic. Some students were graded in subjects that they didn't even take. Unapata mtu hakufanya physics, alifanya maybe biology na chemistry, lakini anaambiwa amepata B plane kwa physics. And in some cases, an entire stream had almost the same grades. It was a shambolic system, and later Raila Odinga told us, in what was a bombshell, or so to speak, that the Kenya Kwanza government took away the contract of printing exams from a British company because they had demanded kickbacks that the British company could not give. So they hurriedly gave this contract to an Indian company. You know, the Kenya Kwanza regime with the Indians, I don't know, Gupta, Adani, what, Dev Key, I don't know. So they gave the contract to an Indian company, and that is what resulted into the shambolic grading. I think some students even went to court because some got marks that they didn't even expect. I began by taking you back because there is something very serious that is happening in this country that we need to look at. And in this video, I want to opine to you that we need to change this country, the whole system, as soon as possible. In fact, 2027 will be our day or our year. We have a date with destiny, because if we make another mistake, we are gone. Kenya is going to plunge to the dogs. And I want to also tell you that we don't have anything against our president. In fact, I believe that President William Ruto is good, but is not good enough to be our president. Is not good enough to be our president. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the budget discussion, the 2025-2026 budget discussion is ongoing. The proposals are with the departmental committees. The proposals, in fact, it's discussed in terms of annual allocation. So I want to read you something because I want to show you why we need to change the leadership from the top. In the 2025-2026 budget, the Statehouse has allocation of 4.2 trillion. This budget includes 3.09 trillion for recurrent spending. We have 725.1 billion for development. We have 436 billion in country transfers and 5 billion for the contingency fund. Specifically, the State House is allocated 2.44 trillion for the executive. I'm giving you the detailed allocation to State House because I also want to take you to a very shocking story that caught our attention. Now, as the budget discussion is going on, State House has been allocated money to the tunes of trillions. Now, education crisis looms as 0 shillings allocated for national examination. And we are told that the education sector has suffered a blow because there is no budget for examination. And part of the budget that we're talking about is the school examination and invigilation annual requirement that actually had been placed at 12 billion, but it was later capped at 6 billion. Nothing has been given, zero. Quality assurance and standard. The annual requirement was estimated at 600 million Kenya shillings. Nothing has been given. And then the Teacher Service Commission also submitted about 5.7 billion in the financial year 2025-2026. Nothing has been given, and they are saying they are unable to employ over 20,000 teachers in interns on permanent basis. And this is the reason why I'm telling you that there is a problem in this country. Can you imagine we're in a country that is being led by Daktari, doctor in philosophy, someone who has got masters and he understands the value of education. And then when they are making a budget, Statehouse is allocated money to the tunes of trillions annual allocation. But something as important as examination in the education sector is deprived of a single penny. Do you think we have a country? I want us to discuss this because I will tell you why William Ruto is good but not good enough to be our president. And we have nothing against him. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, please like and share our videos. Ladies and gentlemen, can you imagine that William Ruto himself had once said that he came from a very humble background, that were it not for education, he wouldn't have been where he is. And I have a feeling that William Ruto does not like the youths in this country, because apart from the reports that came from BBC that they were killed during the protest, there is another silent killing going on. When you interfere with our education, you are interfering with the future of the younger generations. Very soon, the quality of education in Kenya is going to be too poor that our education is not going to be recognized internationally. You will get someone from Kenya who has got a PhD, but that PhD is not recognized because there is no political goodwill to promote our education. And I don't know what you think about the development, the latest development that is going on in our education sector. When Uhuru was in power, Uhuru went for the best. He did not care about your tribe, about your party. All he wanted was professionalism and meritocracy. And I'm just wondering why Raila has told us that people like Mbadi were experts to the dockets that they were given to handle. I mean, how can an expert be in charge of a budget that education sector is deprived of money? Because if there's one of the very sensitive dockets that we can talk about is education, health and security. These are very basic because they touch on the future of a nation. Education is the equalizer. It provides a level field for every child, regardless of where you come from. You come from Sugoi, or Bondo, or Ishaweri, or Wamunyoro, or Sikuru. Education is a level playing ground. We've got people who can confess to you that were it not for their brains, they would have been where they are. Someone lifted their hands, paid for their school fees. That is why sometimes we do fundraising, because Kenyans love to sponsor students and pupils to go to school. Look at what is now happening. And I understand that this could be part of the dark schemes of the international community. Someone was discussing with me that there's a possibility that William Ruto is listening too much to some people who have got a dark scheme to ensure that Kenya and maybe the whole of Africa does not develop, because they know that if Africans get good education, in the near future they can compete at the international level. So this is part of the GMO and the LGBTQ and just part to ensure that Africa remains stagnant. I don't know how true that is, but someone was telling me such a thing. Because as we speak now, the fate of the national exams, the CAPSEA, the KJCE and the KCSE, the fate is unknown. There's a possibility that parents will dig deep into their pockets, even though Treasury CS was saying that nothing of the sort will happen. PS Julius Bitok was at pains to explain what is happening. The intention of this government is not to support education. And that's why I'm telling you that I hate this broad-based government, because it's not speaking to the heart of the people. The people in this broad-based government do not want to speak on behalf of the weak and downtrodden. I can assure you that if we interfere with education, because this is how it starts. I started by telling you what happened in the shambolic marking and grading of our exams. We've always talked about lack of capitation fee, or it's not getting to schools in time. In fact, in the last semester or last term, the capitation fee was carried over to this term. So you are getting into first term of a new year, and yet the capitation fee that was supposed to be released for the third term last year is not yet complete. A country that is led by Dr. William Samoei Ruto, if you go and Google one of the most educated presidents in the country, you'll find that William Ruto is one of them. Then what is the value of that education if he does not himself want to create an environment where other children will also ascend to be PhD holders like him? No wonder some people joke around that they doubt the quality of the masters of PhD that he holds. I don't know. We have a president who has not only been accused of interfering with our education, he has been accused of interfering with devolution. And these are not my words. Experts in those areas, governors who had those devolved systems, are the ones who are complaining. So you are deprived of good education. Back at home, there is no money that is coming or going to the counties. So what is working? He has been accused of trying to lease out sugar factories without following due process, without including stakeholders' opinions. And so this is why I'm telling you that we need to change this system. We need to change the people in charge. I don't know what to think, but in their minds, whoever was making this budget, I mean, what is in his mind when he's depriving the education sector and allocating that money to Statehouse? What is our priority as a country? Because you've heard William talks about at some point we were at par with Singapore, and is dreaming that in the next few years, he has continued to tell us that he's making hard decisions to ensure that we will be at par with Singapore. With this kind of mentality, if you don't support your education, then the entire generation is being interfered with. And I don't know what to think, but I think we need to condemn this. The government needs to be compelled to give this sector money as is required, and let all those departmental committees, because this was detected by the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Education and Research. Let all those other departmental committees, whether it is roads, whether it is health, let them look very deeply with the fine tooth comb to understand whether enough and sufficient money has been allocated to those areas. Otherwise, we will be doomed as a nation. Just the other day, Statehouse and the Office of the Deputy President were given more money during the supplementary budget, about 5 billion for facelifting Statehouse and state lodges. William Ruto had talked about austerity measures and is not practicing it. Statehouse, Office of the Deputy President, Office of the Cabinet Prime Minister are all getting monies for entertainment, facelifting, traveling. I mean, including the offices of the First Lady and Second Lady. To me, something is wrong. And this is a false start for Mbadi. Even though we are looking at taxes and which areas have been taxed, let us also look at which areas are being deprived of adequate allocation. For us to move as a country, we really need to understand which areas are sensitive. Education can never be interfered with. And I want to repeat that if William Ruto is serious, that is Dr. William Samoei Ruto, let him ensure that he creates an environment that will also allow other pupils who come from humble backgrounds to attain to the level of being doctors of philosophy. I don't know what to think, but that is my take.